Yes, we give thanks. We say, Tenestalin, glorify the life giver and the keeper of life. Emperor Haile Selassie I is to be exalted. Negusa Nagasta, King of Kings. John Hoy himself, but John Hoy, the Father, His Majesty. Royal family, we give thanks for the establishment of this Congress, this Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Church of True Divine Salvation. Oh, we are so thankful for the Holy Melchizedek in our presence, which has laid the foundation and opened the doors wide for all those who desire to come in. Give thanks for a worthy founder. He is our worthy leader and president and God and King in flesh. Melchizedek, the King of Salem, the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. You may know him as Bongo Eddie, but we're talking about King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. Yes, continuing the works of the Right Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Look for me in the whirlwind and look for me all around you. Look for me in the thunderstorms. Yeah, I shall return with countless of millions of Africans who have died in the Caribbean and on the coast of Africa and at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean to assist you in this liberation hour. So we are here. Yeah. Give thanks to the God of Daniel, ever so sure to deliver. He shall send his angels here. We are here. And give thanks for being in the time of the holy 3-in-1 and 1-in-3. We talking about the prophet and the priest and the king. Give thanks for the fulfillment of the celestial prophecies and the procession of the equinox has come as human beings. We glorify the Father and the Mother of creation, the life giver and the keeper of life. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Royal family, we give thanks for your presence with us on this beautiful hour. And we definitely will be going into a reasoning here as we are going to speak about the Bobo Shanti and how it is that they conduct their fasting itself, the feasting and fasting aspect, and the fasting period. But before we go into that aspect of this sit down, because it's not necessarily a lecture, it's somewhat of me just explaining to the best of ability exactly what's going up. Some people may say what's going down. But on Thursday, the 26th of February, Royal Family, we're going to have a very special Tiger's Nest. And this Tiger's Nest will be going into the subject area, Haile Selassie and the Amenta. You see, for example, tonight we will be going into a reasoning as it relates to the fasting and how the Bobo Shanti fast. So we're just going to put it on the table with the facts that we know. But listen to this. The whole concept of fasting itself is very layered. The whole concept of fasting itself has different stages and different dimensions, really. Okay, for example, that's why you could fast for health reasons, because it actually strengthens the goodie or strengthens the anatomy. I'm talking about fasting. And then at the same time, fasting repairs cells. That's what it does, it actually repairs cells. The fasting, the different types of fasting that you may do would affect certain things. Fasting really clears your mind, which is physical, but bridges us now into the spiritual world. Fasting is a spiritual thing. In the same way, it can release you of physical toxins. Yeah, man, fasting can release you of spiritual toxins. So bad vibes, bad energy, duppy, they run away. That's the energy of fasting. That is why the fasting aspect goes with the praying. The fasting aspect goes with the meditation. So as you can see, it's not just a one thing. And many individuals, that's why we're doing these programs, especially for those who are young, even to this order and to many things. Because as you know, we are definitely always bringing in new people as such, people that are just coming to their conscious self, people who may not have been looking for no conscious self, but just happen to run into us. That's why you have to be all over omnipresent, as the fathers say, because, you know, there are many individuals in this world that are definitely gone astray and would be happy to see a light. Even if they were not looking for the light, they didn't even know there was a light to look for. That is how dread it is in this time. Eh? So we don't really come here to speak to the choir, you know. Give thanks to the choir, you're singing very nicely. But as I said, there are many ones that are seeking the truth. As the Father said, he didn't really come to those who are already healed. You know, they're healed, man. They know everything already. He came to the sick, those who would admit that, hey, I don't know. This is something new you're talking about here. I want to have better understanding of it. Yeah, in reality. So this is why we do these programs. This is why we're doing this program here as well. And we will continue. So on Thursday, we're going to be speaking of the aspect of the Lent that deals more with the philosophy and the theology. As I said, Lent itself, just like the fasting, is very layered. So when you hear of Lent, you think of fasting, but it's more than just fasting, and it's more than just praying too. Because as Bobo Shanti, it comes with a philosophy, an understanding. And let me repeat again, there are many young ones, new ones coming in, and you know the world has so many different philosophies and concepts and concepts that they would have given us. So even just shaking off a lot of things is very confusing to many. So when you walk in the door and say, huh, what did Bobo say, Lent? You know, you may have just left the Catholic world. So the whole Lenten thing, and there are many within this order that don't really use the term Lent, you know. But we're just identifying the time frame. Yes, Lent from Ash Wednesday to Good Friday. Very good. And we did a program on the Tiger's Nest not too long, somewhat kind of breaking that down. But the thing is, listen, keep this in mind, young ones. The wicked world didn't create anything that has any level of substance. Anything that they present with as something of value, whether it has value or not, if it has any value, it's because it's something that has been stolen from us. So basically, there's nothing they create from scratch. Their philosophy is African. Their religion, you just look at it good and you can trace it back to the hieroglyphs on the wall. You know, their theological concept, their structure of their universities, their judicial system, their parliament, all of that is already seen in the halls of Ma'at. So it's not as if they started this thing from the beginning. Anything that you see them have that is of value as such is something that has been taken, conscrewed, misused, abused, watered down, discovered, and fed to the colonialized. So when you come out of that rubbish there and you come into the truth, then, you know, some of you coming in hot, hotter than Peter Tosh, and you're burning the Bible and you're burning the Quran and anything that moves, that, yeah, fire. I understand. Believe, trust me. Take it from me. I surely comprehend. But of course, we're dealing with level thinking here. And we're dealing with understanding and wisdom. You know, in all the knowledge you have, it's good. But in all you're getting, it's better you get understanding. Many people have a lot of knowledge, you know, but they don't even understand the thing that they know. I am telling you. So this comprehension is very important. Understand it. Very, very important. So there's that aspect that I want to get into. You could already see it's going to be a deep lecture presentation. That is Haile Selassie and the Amenta, the underworld, because you see, this is a very sacred time. This is the time you should be meditating on the suffering Messiah. No, don't get me wrong. This ain't no what's the word there? the word is missing me there. But anyway, I have it in my head, it's just not coming out my mouth. People that like a lot of penance and people that like a lot of pain and torture and all of that stuff. It begins with an M, massa. You know the word. It's in my head and it's not coming out of my mouth. It may come out soon. But that's not what I'm talking about, What I'm saying, royal family, I don't know about nobody else, because a lot of people are fasting now, Oh yeah, man, it's a lot of fasting taking place. The Christian world, first of all, would have begun their fasts. What you may call it, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, they began their fast even prior to the regular fast in Lent and Ash Wednesday and all of that. The Muslims and their Ramadan at this time began on the same time as the fasting of the Lenten period. That's the Muslims fast. And if you check it out, at the same time, there was a solar eclipse that took place with the new moon. That was the same time, the 17th of February coming into the 18th, the beginning of the Lent. It was the Chinese New Year. You don't know how that goes and its alignment and the movements of Neptune and Pluto. And this year is considered to be the year of the fire horse. So this is a serious time. That's the energy that we are feeling here right now, and give thanks for the first Lenten period here in Ethiopia. So royal family, this ain't no Roman Catholic thing. The heavens declare the glory. This is what I'm trying to show you. And everything is timely and put in order. So it is a scientific happening. It's an anciency that we would have practiced from such time. And again, just like every other, aspect of their curriculum, this was copied as well. They came and saw us carrying on this tradition, dealing with the science of the moon and the science of the resurrection and nature and Easter, which is the Eastern star. And the beginning of that time frame and spring and everything is just a natural thing. I always highlight that those of you in the Caribbean, that during the time of so-called Easter, you can smell the sea cleaning itself. And it just brings you to the understanding that even as Bobo Shanti, one of the things that we do not do during the time of the Lent is go to the sea, to the beach. Interesting. So it's deep. And as I said, we will be covering the theology aspect of it, directly highlighting Haile Selassie and his time frame within exile. This is very important, even to understand it and play it over in your mind as you meditate during this time. Because many of us, we don't pay that much attention to it. And Haile Selassie the First himself, we're going to be reading all of this, in his autobiography, speaks about when he went to the BBC to read the speech to the people in the United States during the time of Christmas. That same day, he had an accident. You remember that story? Yes, and he fractured his knee. I am reading a book where they said he fractured his collarbone. I didn't know that part of it, and I'm not sure if they may have been making a mistake. But I know the king said his knee. Maybe I have to revisit it to see if the collarbone was in it as well. But anyway, and he was in tremendous pain. And he went to the BBC eventually and gave the speech because he did a few things prior to that. Yes, those who were with him encouraged him to go and see a doctor. That didn't really play out it didn't play out too positively. And they couldn't get the doctor. And the king said he has a speech to deliver. And when the king delivered the speech, he clearly said in the speech, he was speaking about the suffering of Christ. Just check this out. He was speaking about the suffering of Christ, and he told the world that many of us during this time of the birth of our Lord, we tend to think we are rejoicing, but we tend to think of our own trials and tribulations and tend to forget the trials and the pains and the tribulations that he had to bear for us all. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing it, and when the lecture comes, we'll be reading it straight from the book so you get it word for word. But that's what he said. You know, we think about what's happening in our lives, but we forget the pain that he had to bear for all of us. Remember, he was in severe pain at that time, and that was just symbolic. It may sound harsh, eh? That pain that the king was in with his knee was symbolic of the full holistic pain that he was feeling in general. It was almost like a sample of it all to show you, well, what he's going through there with the knee is what he's going through in general with the weight of the war that was upon him and the Ethiopian people. But again, I'm leaving that level of discussion there, that level of reasoning really, for the presentation that we will give in the Tiger's Nest next Thursday. It will be a visual Tiger's Nest too, so there's a link that we will provide. So what I'm really saying is that we're going to open the doors to all of you who want to partake or, you know, take in that specific presentation, that lecture, that Tiger's Nest. Is going to be a unique Tiger's Nest. It will be more lengthier than the regular Tiger's Nest because it's going to be a lecture presentation. And we're going to be bringing it down and breaking it down and showing you all the good aspects of it and show you the importance of even understanding how to connect the Lent and the philosophy and theology that King Emmanuel would have taught us about it, and the reality of Haile Selassie's exile and the full works, man, the crucifixion of Christ, because that is what this time is about, isn't it? And the resurrection of Christ, that is what this time is about, isn't it? What does it really mean? So all you have to do, family, is email me. Those who are not subscribers, if you are already a subscriber, you don't have to worry. Obviously, you will be totally informed. But those who do not get the regular Tiger's Nest program, those who are not subscribers to it, and you want to be a part of next Thursday's Tiger's Nest, well, you can subscribe and you will be. But if you didn't plan to subscribe, just email me, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. That's priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. And just let me know that you want to be with us for the Tiger's Nest presentation, Haile Selassie and the Amenta. And the Amenta means the underworld, eh? Yeah, man. So it's going to be deep. We would have, obviously, you know, we would have covered these subjects already in the past. If it's one thing, you know, we've been every Lenten period, every time that this season comes on, we try our best to keep ones up to date in all aspects of it and guide individuals through. And so it's our duty to continue to keep this educational aspect up. As you know, this is a university here. This is the Ministry of Education. I'm very serious about that. If there's another Ministry of Education that is maybe something I overlooked, I would humble myself and back off. But for now, we are taking the reins of the Ministry of Education. We are working hard here in the lab, producing more content for the young ones and videos and booklets and other things, and already have programs on the front line. I don't know if ones are aware that we are still offering to those who are interested, well, I'm sure you're interested, but interested in edifying your young ones, and you may not have already been a part of our international homeschool program. Well, our international homeschool program at this time has several compartments. We have the Kiswahili compartment, We have the early childhood video compartment, very nice, very entertaining for your young little babies. Um, of course, we have the biology compartment, the general knowledge compartment, and the astronomy, oh, beautiful compartment. And that's not the astronomy course, the astronomy compartment and the African heritage compartment. We are offering to those who would like to bring their children into the international homeschool program, and for one reason or the other have not done it. Now, the homeschool program has a price. It's very, very inexpensive for what you get for everything I just mentioned, a whole academic year. But for those who, again, for one reason or the other, may not be in the position or whatever to purchase that, well, we are offering for free the African heritage and the astronomy aspect of the international homeschool program to any family that wants to be a part of it. Now, this is a limited offer, and the limit is not in time, but in quantity. So we have a specific number because it's work, eh? It's work. It's not something we just give out because this work is it's a living program. So we monitor it and, and correspond and whatever it is. So it's work. So we know what we can handle. You follow what I'm saying? So we are asking those who are serious, because our educational programs, to me, are quite up to standard. And as we evolve, they're getting better and better. You always hear me highlight my rudiments of astronomy course. I consider it, the top astronomy course out there. And if I see another, because I go through some of the courses, I may not take them all, but I go through, the previews, and I understand from Caltech, University to the other one that deals with a lot of astronomy. And their courses cannot compare. That's just the truth. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm so sorry if it sounds like that. I really am, but I give a lot of credit to my young son, Honorable Prince Almasi, as he is the master behind the graphics and the expression and everything. So that is why I think it's easy for me to give it that high recommendation and respect, because it's not just me. It's my voice here, but that's it. The rest of the work is him. So enough respect to that. And the understanding now, royal family, and that is not a part of the homeschool program. That is by itself. But within the homeschool program, there is an astronomy aspect, and there is the African history and heritage aspect, and that is what we are giving for free. So there's no price on that. And I want to be clear, royal family, when we say giving for free, this is not like something we're trying to sell and we're giving this for free. No, no, no. We are about nation building. And in the building of a nation, you must have a Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Education itself, you educating your people. Those who want to be educated in the conscious realms, and still the academic education that you'll get in the colleges, universities, high schools, etc. You want to be up to speed with modernity and the anciency and everything in order. So if you have that and you've put it into book form and script form and video form and documentary form and lecture form, because that's what we would have done, and you can deliver it to your people without a price. Without a price. I mean, a nation that has an education system where the children can go and don't pay for the education, that's a nation that gets enough respect. I want you to follow me good. Now, of course, our institute is not funded by anyone, you understand. So again, it is good that You can give for free, but nothing really for free. Even a nation that gives free education, money still got to be spent to make sure that teachers and equipment and infrastructure and everything is precise. I just want you to understand that. So we're thinking like a government, and we're rising the standard of kingdom building or rebuilding. So the Ministry of Education, I'm very serious, is here. And we are continuing to grow. You will see in the future what we have done when we get into geography and chemistry and the whole works. So again, this is just the beginning. I'm encouraging this. I didn't plan to go into all of this, I'm telling you, but this is a part of the fasting too. This is a good time for this. I'm encouraging again. Give thanks for those who answered my call, but I know there are many more. I'm encouraging you again. Our programs are good. They're bite-sized and very palatable for the young ones. And it's not going to take up their whole day. Even if they go to school, it's okay. These are supplementary programs. That's where we are thus far. Supplementary programs. Email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, and let us know, hey, priest, I would like to be part of the homeschool program. I ain't spending no money right now, but if I could get that free offer you have, no problem. Because it will grow. As the program itself grows, it will grow. As the nation itself grows, it will grow. Because education is for all. But at the same time, let me be clear that you can purchase the full program, which is an academical year. And it's very inexpensive. You understand? Very, very inexpensive. Priest Isaac Institute @gmail.com. So as it relates to the actual fasting period now, as I was speaking earlier, many people have different types of fasts. And even within the Congress, I know a few ones that do their own slightly different thing, but it's interesting. Now, what I'm going to relate to you is really how I would have learned this thing. Now, fasting itself is a deep thing. Let me start here. I think I should. When you observe the world, okay, you have, for example, here in Ethiopia, when you are fasting, you eat a specific way. In fact, when you explain to someone that you don't eat meat, they think that you're fasting in many cases. It comes to me like every single Ethiopian eat meat. So the fasting aspect of it is very important. And how it is that the fasting aspect works is like this. Very important, royal family. Now, slight interruption. Now, there's something known as intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, that's really what we do. I like to highlight that there is a book written by Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. I would have read that book in them early days, coming into consciousness. And in the book, Elijah Muhammad speaks about eating once a day. And that would help you to prolong your life and repair your cells and so forth. Elijah Muhammad, this was written, I think, maybe in the 50s or 60s. How to Eat to Live. Then in the book, he goes on to say, if you can do that, then work on eating once every 2 days. Oh, you're getting serious now. He even went on to say, you guessed it, once every 3 days. Again, the science of fasting. The whole concept of putting the goodie to rest. You know for sure that if you eat too late, many of you, when you eat too late, you wake up burping and belching and all sorts of tastes coming back out of your mouth. Many ones, for sure, if I eat too late, I wake up hungry. That's when I'm hungry, when you eat too late. But when you go on a so-called empty stomach, and it should be empty for real, you wake up refreshed and ready to go. It's not about a belly full. It's about the nutrients that you get from the food. So it's not how much you eat, it's not the quantity, but the quality of the food that you take in. Obviously, your greens and your green juices and your sea moss and these things, I'm talking naturally. For example, I know some ones they speak against the sea moss during the time of the Lenten period. We'll get into that in a moment. But the point I'm making is that it's the nutrients that you need within your structure that will keep you. And the belly full. Belly full is not, no, that's not the case at all. So the eating once a day is really what the fast is about. And in a sense, that is just a natural way for a human being to live, to eat once a day. But now it has become like a journey for us. It has become a work to eat once a day because, of course, we're accustomed to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, at least lunch and dinner, and some snacks in between. But when you get to the level that, listen, we're going to have a feast every day. And when the feast done and we wipe our mouth and we get up, we're not going to eat until we come back again tomorrow. That's just anciency, nothing hard. But again, it has become a practice now, almost a work, something that you have to make up your mind and get to it and think hard before you enter. All right, good. So in the fasting world, you have the water fast, where an individual may decide they're not going to eat for however long, but they're going to drink water. Nothing wrong with that, eh? Now, the Bobo Shanti fast is not a water fast. Again, I know a few brethren that do that. They drink water all during the Sabbath and everything. Sabbath fast, they're drinking water, but they're not eating until they break the fast. But you really break your fast already, at least the fast that we're doing. That is not an intermittent fast. That's a water fast. So no disrespect to the water fast, but you must understand that even the term fast means to abstain from, not just from food and drink water alone, but totally. So you have the fruit fast. I know people that would have done fruit fasts and they eat fruits for breakfast, fruits for lunch, and fruits for dinner. Okay. It's some level of abstinence from cooked food and I guess vegetables, and you're living on the fruits and the high, I guess, water content in the fruits and so forth and so forth. But a fruit fast, it's kind of tricky because the actual concept of a fast, again, is to leave alone an abstinence from eating, not just from eating this, you could be on a spaghetti fast or you like that, or some other fast, but we don't want to corrupt the concept of fasting. I get your point. It is a very high thing to do, very high thing to do, to just eat fruits for a certain amount of time. I would have done that myself. If you're carrying through a fast where you literally don't eat for a reasonable amount of time, let's say you don't eat throughout the morning at all, and then at lunch you have fruits, and maybe you do that in the evening, now you're coming to enter the realms of a fast because you definitely made sure you locked off the morning period when it comes to eating. And even that is beneficial. But you see, one of the main things about the Lenten fast, again for the Bobo Shanti, is the eating once per day. Now, you see, the thing is, a lot of what we're doing today is like a one-away living. And our concept was not set down by Holy Melchizedek like that. Yes, he would have taught us how to govern ourselves if we were living one away. You might say, what one away? What on earth is that? our liberty is a campus liberty. That's how it was established. We live together. That is what we are attempting to do even up to this day, to build the kingdom. That's what I'm talking about. So we live together. We have, as the hymn says, Blessed be the tie that bind our hearts in one creational love. The fellowship of kindred hearts and minds is like that above. So we're in the same gated community. We worship at the same church. We may have our individual homes, but it's in the same place. We eat together. When the Congress was established 10 miles Bull Bay, and even prior to that, the concept of the kitchen staff and the 7 angels in the kitchen staff or on the kitchen staff and preparing meal for the full congregation. For the full congregation, we come and sit down and eat together. So that's how we think, that's how we live. So the orders that many of us adhere to, even though we try our best to live them, they were designed to live in a compound. So in the compound setting now, for example, look at Sabbath. Yeah? Many of us, we keep Sabbath in our bedroom. Many of us, we may jump in the car and drive to the lake on Sabbath. Many of us, we may be a little more up the ladder, and the family, we sit down every Sabbath morning and we read our Bible and we read other good books and we have a good conversation, and then at 12 o'clock we eat our lunch that was prepared since the Friday and maybe watch a few documentaries or two, because that's the environment that we're in. Now, that's not how Sabbath's supposed to go. Now, hey, all powers to you, even the brother in his bedroom, because you're doing what you can do as it relates to the environment that you are in. What Sabbath is service. You understand? That's what it was meant to be. Sabbath is service. And of course, your whites and everything, but Sabbath is service. And the service goes until midday. And then the fast is broken. And then you feast, and then more service again. That's the Sabbath day itself. Of course, it starts from the Sabbath night, and what do you think it starts with? Service. So it's a service thing. So I'm saying all of that to come back to the Lent now, to come back to the fasting, 40 days and 40 nights. That's service too. The Lenten period, 40 days and 40 nights, that is service as well. In your whites, if you can make it, but especially Monday, Wednesday, and of course Sabbath and Friday, black over white, it's a holy thing. It's service. And then now, you must keep in mind, again, the campus living. So while you're in service, because those of us who fast one away, you're fasting until midday. How you going to eat? Now remember, this is Lent, so you got to be careful what you eat too. Because we are given a list of things you don't touch during Lent. And to be very honest, for the most part, when we step into Lent, nothing really changes. I'm talking about for me. Yeah. Because this is how I would have learned it as Bobo Shanti. First of all, during Lent, you don't eat fish. Well, I've been having a very long Lent, decades now. You don't eat things from like packages and boxes, and it's just to stay away. But you must understand, even when these things were issued, that was kind of like the culture and things that we would have bought around the camp and these things and sweet biscuits. And so these are the things that the Father says, stay away from. The raisin agent in the bread and all of these things, obviously, that means you're buying bread out on the road. So it's just really to keep you away from a lot of the filth. And your goodie is going through a nice period of being quiet now, so it can heal itself, your anatomy, your body. So the long period of not eating helps it to heal itself. But we don't want, when you go to eat now, you're going to still be eating certain things that would be destroying it. So even fasting and these things, fruits, very important. But let me return to you in your own home. Now, you want to break your fast with a nice cup of tea, don't you? You want to break your fast with a nice sip, a nice soup, don't you? All right, good, very good. Depending on your comfort, whatever the case is, you might have to get up and prepare the soup. Oh, well, my wife is there. Yeah, how many you have? You know, this is a 40-day fast. Eh? The woman don't even keep the whole 40 day, not unless she's at a certain age. Because when the woman is menstruating or cycling, you don't encourage no woman to fast. So that's gone to a next level. When the woman is pregnant, obviously, you don't encourage the woman to fast. You know, so there's a time that you may have to get up, I'm sure, and prepare your sip and prepare your tea and make sure it's ready for 12 o'clock, and then you can sit and eat. And if you're keeping the fast and the feasting period until 2 o'clock, all right. So you got to be ready every day. You can't be out on the road, you know, when it's time to break your fast. You're not supposed to break your fast outside of the compound that you dwell in. All of that is a part of the rules. So you don't, because it's 12 o'clock, you're going to get some water and spit it out behind the tree. No, you go home. You're supposed to be home to break your fast. You know that. Yeah, this is serious. Because the thing is, in reality, the fast is supposed to be broken in the tabernacle. But I'm trying to show you now, those of us who will have to be washing vegetables from 10 o'clock and making sure every day we do this, making sure that the pot is on by 11 and just 12 o'clock, you're going to cover it neat and nice and say your prayer and then go in the backyard and spit your water out and come back in and drink your tea. That's the one way living. No, the way that the order is set down, as I said, it's service. And you break your fast in the tabernacle, but you don't have no service. You're playing some Naya Bingi on YouTube or something, but that ain't the service. Give thanks you can do that because that's where you are. You're doing good, eh? You're doing good. We are doing good. We're doing good. Those of us who are trying our best. Woman keeping house in the master's bedroom, and we're doing good. We're trying hard. But the reality is a campus living. Because when you're in church, you ain't thinking about no pot cooking because you have 7 angels in the kitchen taking care of that. The man that had to go out on the road to sell whatever he had to sell to make sure you can clap and sing, you don't have to worry about that. Because he's taking care of that for you. And you may have to go out there tomorrow, and he may be in here clapping and singing. And the kitchen man may get a chance to come and minister on the altar because it's a family. This is how the Bobo fast. So at 12 o'clock now, the service come down, and this is another thing. Because the service coming down. He ain't come down yet. And if the place packed, it's a totally different thing because it's a whole procession that has to go through. Come and dine, the master calls you, come and dine, and everyone breaks their fast in the tabernacle. I'm sure you would have seen videos of it on the internet put up by the Honorable Priest Shimran, the Black United Nation channel, and you could see the fasting room established, and you go and you wash your face outside and drink from the basin depending on your condition, and you go and spit it out to the south, and you drink your water and you eat your bread and you get the honey and everything. That's how you break the fast. Because remember now, for those who may be a bit new to this, when you rise in the morning, you don't eat anything. Nothing, as Bobo Shanti in this time. And again, the service. You break it in the tabernacle. Sometimes you don't break your fast until 12:15. Depending on where you are in the sitting position, you may not break your fast until 12:30. You may not come out of the tabernacle, until maybe 1:45. These things happen. And it's just time for you to go and sit in and get your warm sip and eat your few fruits. And if you're eating a nice, a healthy meal, that would be good too if you could get it all in, pardon me. Because now at 2 o'clock in the campus living, a horn is blown and bam, the fasting begins again. Okay. And that's a simple, I don't even have to go no more. That's it. That's it. Eh? But I got to go more. There's still more. But I'm just showing you that's it. So you can just think about that and you can work it out for yourself. But of course, I ain't going to just leave you like that. There's a lot of understanding to gather there. Now, there's a phrase I like to use. And this is how I learn it. And what I'm teaching you is what I've learned from my elders, many of who are listening to this. If you can't take a big bite, take a small bite. Now, before I go into the bite thing, I'm sure you would have heard when we did that interview with the Honorable Priest Earl. He highlighted, of course, the father always, a man is free to take a little grace period. I just utilize my grace period more time, especially when I fast in the until the 6th, which I will get to that too. Wow. I hope I remember everything I say I'm going to get to. And the grace period, as we call it, is just a heights to show that you're dealing with an understanding God. But you can't overdo on your grace period. Now, since I mentioned that 6, let me just get into this quickly. And this is just reality. When you read the gospel, many people say the gospel contradicts itself because this man saying this and Mark saying the other thing and Luke, his own thing different than Matthew own. I understand. And I come to realize as a journalist within myself that years and decades I've been gathering information as it relates to our Father, King Emmanuel, and all things thereof. I can tell you, I can write the gospel. I definitely can. I have material on record written and in my mind. I remember it all. What the apostles and the disciples that live with Christ would have told me. But the thing is now, in reality, you may get the same account as such, the same story as such from different disciples, but the account might be slightly different, and that's the truth. Okay, the reason why I say that now is to get into this. Like when we began fasting to this dimension, it was an ancient priest who sat with us. I mean, a priest that, office priest with King Emmanuel I talking about, that sat with us and told us that you got 2 types of fasts, which is true. Where you have he referred to it as the cup fast and the heartical fast. This is how he referred to it as. And I want you to listen to me good. And his explanation of the cup fast is the fast that you hold until 12 o'clock and then you go back into it at 2. That's how he explained it from my recollection. He didn't necessarily bring in the whole tabernacle thing, but we were young as such and coming into this thing and, and he referred to the heartical fast as the fast that people call 6-6 fast. I don't know where that 6-6 thing come from. No, I don't like that. 6, you cannot call that fast 6-6. I know some brethren, they wake up early in the morning and drink some hot cup of tea before 6 o'clock and then they fast until the 6 going down under the sun. No, I'm not condemning them, or you, because I know you listening to it. I'm not condemning you, No, don't get offended. I'm just saying, if that is 6 to 6, that is 6 to 6. But those of us who fast until 6, the sunset, and eat until 8 o'clock and don't eat again, you can't call that 6 to 6. No way. That's one of the most terrible fasts that exists. And we would have done that, me personally, for like 4 years nonstop. This is like when we really started to fast, maybe 25, 24 years ago. Really started to get into the Lent fast. And I can tell you, when I go to the Lent fast, I go to the Lent fast, and I'm not here to you know what I mean, I don't, nobody really come and say these things, but I just want it to be clear. I know ones may get a little struggle going through it, but when we go to the Lent fast, we hold it to the T. No hiccup. I always say I didn't want to go too far with this, but the only hiccup I ever had was the year my mother passed. Actually passed during the time of Lent, and it was a long story. So many things that even I had to marshal, and it just went a certain way. But I will speak about that some other time, and I think I would have already. Yeah. So let me keep on track here. Like that one kind of carried me off on a different level, but it's a different level, but it's the same vibes. Because that was a spiritual moment within itself. Remember, it's Lent, you know. You know what I mean? Victory over the death and the grave. It's Lent. All right, very good. So the setting of the sun now, the heartical fast, that's what the elder taught us. Real elder, no, not just somebody somewhere. I mean, chief general of King Emmanuel, and he explained to us, well, that's the heartical fast. Now, of course, now you grow into it and you learn more from other ones, and you start to understand the whole terrain, which many of you still need to comprehend too. You understand? Jada's called for those 2 fasts for real. There have several times the father called for that sunset fast, as I tell you, according to the teachings I got. King Emmanuel said, when you come to Ethiopia, you have to hold a 7-day fast. The sunset fast. You understand? To move certain things out of the way. Holy Emmanuel, Haile Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. So we give thanks to them word sound. So, yeah, so both fasts exist. And other ones said that fast is this is a very key point. Yes. So the elder clearly told us that there was a book. Oh man, I can clearly remember this. And he said you would pick one of the 2 fasts, because certain ones were really militant ones that went out, and they would have more taken the heartical fast and the fast until 6, just in case they don't reach in at 12. They out there until 4 o'clock, and so they would come in and take that fast. All right, I clearly remember that. I don't know if that was just for a year or 2, because those that say, well, they don't remember that. It's just one fast, and everybody doing this one fast here, which is the 12 until the 2. So I'm just putting that on the table, because this is an order that needs a lot of understanding to go through. You can't pretend you're too rigid, and you got to understand and comprehend even as you move through it. So again, this is why I mentioned, if you cannot take a big bite, take a small bite. Now, what does that mean? And I love that phrase. King Emmanuel has some different phrases. He ain't come to count cows, he come to drink milk. So the big bite means that a man that fasting until midday and then eating until 2 o'clock, or eating in between 12 and 2, and then he start to fast again until midday the next day. That's a big bite. The man that fasted until 6, the sunset, and eat until 8 o'clock and maybe take a grace period, and then he returned to the plate again at 6 the next day. That's a big bite. That's my favorite fast, to be honest, that's my favorite fast. That's not the fast I'm doing now, but I love to fast until 6. It just has that. I love that fast so much. It's just that I have a strong preference of not eating in the night. Yes, but I really do love that fast. I'm telling you. Oh, I love it so much. And you don't switch gears in the middle of the Lent night, eh? As if I just had the thought a while ago. But no, you don't switch gears in the middle of the Lent. So, but now, so that's the big bite. Now, if you have a piece of cake in front of you and you take a big bite, that means you're eating, you might not be able to chew it. If you can't take a big bite, if it's too much for you, take a small bite. We have a fast we call the baby fast. Listen to this. Those of you who've never fasted and so forth, because you can't just come and act like if you're King Kong and, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, Priest Isaac say he doing this for, no, please, trust me. Don't be, no. You hear how long I say I doing this? And even before we held on to the word sound of that priest and understood the fast, we were fasting already, but it was almost like the baby fast. So the baby fast really is you fast until midday. That's it. Fast until midday. It's something like the Sabbath fast. The Sabbath fast begins at midday Friday night. Pardon me, midnight Friday night. It doesn't mean you got to eat until midnight, but that's when it officially begins and it goes until midday. So that's like a 12-hour thing, you know. When you do the 2-hour eating fast, whether it's midday or sunset 6, you fast for 18. No, it's more than 18 hours. What am I talking about? You fast for 22 hours. 22 hours. Powerful stuff. So you fast until midday. And that's it. Or an individual could fast until midday. And if you think you're strong enough, you begin your fast when the sun sets again. So you don't eat in the night neither. You may not just take 2 hours to eat. You may take a time frame of 6 hours then to make sure you nourish yourself properly. But don't take the 6 hour and try to fill in the hours with food. No, that's not the point. The point is trying your best, to take in the nutrients and, once a day. You may have a nice proper lunch and maybe sometime before your fast begins again in the afternoon, maybe you want to drink some water because you may not be keeping it as rigid as another person because that may be the stage that you are on because you got to know what you can do. You understand? And you are not in the structure again where somebody, you are clapping and singing and the priests are in the kitchen preparing your warm meal. That does not exist maybe for you. For most, that does not exist. So give thanks if you have your personal cook, your personal chef, and give thanks if the madam is taking care of you, or the daughter, or the son, or whoever, whatever it is. And give thanks if you can take care of yourself as well and prepare your own meal and keep it the way that you understand it. All of that is a blessing. Everything is a blessing, but that don't mean any of that is the way that King Emmanuel or Melchizedek would have set it down for those of us who are following that principle there. You get it? So as you can see, royal family, just understanding that pattern there. As I explained, there's certain things that you literally just stay from, that you don't put in your structure, and even places that you don't go, even within nature, as I said, even to the beach. Now, I was speaking of the sea moss too. I would have heard a different argument over sea moss and salt, and because the word that ones would have received is that during the time of Lent, you do not eat anything from the sea. All right. Now, there are those that will tell you, man, when just says so, is fishy talking about. Now, you see, the thing is now, this is another thing. I would consider him a high-ranking elder who would have done an interview with me, who clearly said that King Emmanuel said that we will have to stop eat fish at some time. Now, the reason he gave, I'm just going to put everything on the table, is that the sea is becoming too polluted. Yeah, I understand. That's the reason he gave. I think it's more than that, but the sea is becoming too polluted. And that's the reason many ones consider that you do not eat fish during the time of Lent, because the sea is cleaning itself, which is reality. Now, the thing is, this is a slightly different time and we're in a different position. I'm not saying to eat no fish at all, whether the sea is squeaky clean or not. I'm not encouraging nobody. Let me be clear here. I'm not encouraging nobody to go eat anything that have to swim away from it. Straight up. I'm just telling you where I am. And I believe that's the level the Father coming with when he told the honorable priest, we got to soon stop eating animals. Just like how we had to stop smoking tobacco and many other things. We got to be visionaries, royal family. You're going to kill an animal to eat it? Pardon me, I know some of you don't like it, but straight up, just think about that. Blood and left children behind. Fishes leave children behind to it. It's a different mindset. So, yeah. Because the sea is cleaning itself out. So ones don't use salt, but the night after, we cook a pot with salt. The night after we go into the cupboard and take out the sea moss and make the drink. The night after we down the road buying fried fish. Now, when did these fishies come out of the water? The same day? But what I'm saying is that, royal family, this needs a lot of understanding. If we're not supposed to eat things from the sea, because I eat things from the sea moss, kelp, they're seaweeds from the sea that are very nutritious. Many of them were not harvested during the time of Lent, not in this time. You may have a package of sea moss that has been there for how long? And you may be ready to utilize it now. It wasn't harvested during the time of Lent, so it wasn't harvested during the time when the sea was not clean. If that is the reason. Maybe that's not the reason, but that's how we try to explain things. Some people don't use salt during the time. Okay. Yeah, salt come from the sea, but but when the Lent is finished, that means you got to throw that salt away, I guess, and go and buy a new pack of salt. But where did that salt come from? Sea salt I'm talking about. And what about if the salt that you use doesn't come from the sea? Right here in Ethiopia, the salt that they use ain't from the sea necessarily. Comes from some salt lakes in the Afar region. What about that salt? A lot of things need understanding, comprehension. Knowledge is good. But if you don't comprehend, you end up stifling yourself and choking yourself off and getting ridiculous and fanatical in your beliefs and in your religion. So as far as the Bobo Shanti fast and liberty, as I said, I would have brought it to you on that simple level, really, the way that I comprehend it. And the campus living is the living that the Father Melchizedek himself, the celestial being that came with the order of life. It is he that would have set it down in this way for us, and that is why it is necessary for us to try our best to reach to that standard that he himself would have set for us as it relates to the campus living and the governmental structure and the parliamental structure as well, and the committee structure and the priesthood office and the priesthood order and our ministries, the ministries of education, ministries of health and wellness, and the ministry of finance. But we are getting there, royal family. Yes, we are getting there, and give thanks for all of those who understand that the time is now and the time is at hand. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, royal family. As I said, next Thursday, keep this in mind. Next Thursday, we're going to have a special Tiger's Nest. We're going to be going into Haile Selassie and the Amenta, a spiritual conversation, and giving you a good understanding of who our Negus Nagas is in the fullness. We're going to be talking about the concept of going into the underworld. You know, slavery and colonialism is the underworld. As Osiris went into the underworld in a ship, that whole ship concept and Noah and the ship and the deluge, the underworld, slavery as such, coming into captivity 400 years in ships, going into the underworld, that whole moving in the ship and the underworld is deep. So we're going to be going into the whole aspect of the exile of Negus and Negas, as it's called, and how he, like Atlas, bore the whole world, the universe on his back, how he, like Michael, stood in the breach. And this is why the Lenten period, the concept of the crucifixion and the resurrection, you can throw it out with the water and say, well, it's Rome and Anglican and King George. No, this is our ancient tradition. This is the Charis. This is the Sahu that resurrected to become the Orion. This is the Heru that became the Raherakate. This is the same Asa, that the Amsu that came out of the grave with the lion's paw that Masons talk about. This is some deep stuff. So we ain't going to throw this baby out at all with the bucket of water. This baby belongs to us. We gave birth to it. And we got to learn this and understand this. So give thanks, Royal Family. For those of you who want to be a part of that lecture, just email me, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. The link will be in the description below the video. Email me and let me know that you want the link. There's no charge, nothing being sold here, You want the link to the lecture. It's going to be a visual lecture, so you're going to need the link. And we may eventually put it, I'm sure we're going to eventually put it on the wider network, but no, man, how long is that going to take? Come and check it out live and direct. And at the same time, remember the International Homeschool Program for your young ones, your little ones. Believe me, it's up to you. If you go to a distance and you don't like it anymore, you could just tell us it's all right, we don't want no more. We ain't have no problem with that. Nobody ever did that for sure, because it's something that you and your little ones will be so happy that you took into your arms. The Ministry of Education is rising, man. Yes, Royal Family, give thanks for your presence. Give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. And as I said, more programs upcoming. Well, the program Thursday is a key part of the Lenten meditation. And it will be good that you're sitting with your chalice and take this in, man, because chalice is an important part to it. Yeah, man, you can't leave out the cup, Rastafari. The chalice represents the altar where the Christ was crucified on. Oh, man. The burning lamb's bread, the bread and the lamb burning on the altar and going into the underworld as smoke and coming out as clouds. Resurrection. Yeah, deep, deep vibes. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Royal Family, for your patient listening and your rapt attention, we do give thanks. Of course, if you know your Bible and you do that, know your history. The knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. And I'm sure you know it takes some real eyes to realize the real lies that are amongst us. Life giver and the keeper of life, Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. I'm a second.